Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Alina, I'm an author and I post videos on YouTube about books and writing. Today we're talking books as this is my February wrap-up on the books I've read and a bit on how I felt about them. If I enjoyed them, if I didn't, things like that. I read 11 books in February, so more than I thought. I thought I'd read 8 or 9, but turns out they were actually 11, which is great because I'm finally up to date and a little over my yearly challenge of reading 70 books. Because I did poorly in January, I read like 3 books, so this is great. The first 3 books I'm going to mention together because they are books 1, 2 and 3 of the Charlie Davis mysteries by none other than Claire Cowter. I started with Losing Your Head, which was one of the freebies she offers at clairecowter.com/free stuff, and I definitely recommend you go there and try her series. And then went on with Unfinished Sentence and Graceless, mostly because I really love the main character. Charlie Davis is amazing, she's fascinating. She's the type of character that's a perfect blend of flaws and great stuff about her that makes Charlie very, very real. She's clumsy, she's non-athletic, and yet she's caught in these mysteries and starts working for a security type of agency, detective agency. I'm not sure how to call it because I have a mental issue right now that causes me not to remember how to use words properly. But anyway, she gets into this job where she's required to eat healthy and exercise a lot and catch criminals, which she's never done before. She's worked in retail. So this is a great mystery series, but it's also extremely funny. So if you're thinking like I thought, that you can start this and just go to bed reading, that won't work because I was laughing so hard I lost all sleepiness and spent hours and hours on end reading through this series. Just so you know, I did buy the 3 books into a box set and then I bought the second box set. And by the time I'll finish it, Claire will have the 3rd box set out, so I'm probably buying that too. She didn't really help my TBR. Next on my list is Eater of Dreams by J. Jacan. This is a gay fantasy story. It's part of a series that's called Sacred Guardian and it's the 2nd book. I read the 1st book about 2 years ago and have had a review copy from J. Jacan since, I want to say mid-2017, something like that, but because I was involved in a thing where I was a judge and I had to read all that, and then the last bit of my year was absolutely manic, I kept delaying this. But then I finally read it and I enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed the 1st book. This story is set up in the land of Kazure and centers on Kaori, who is the heir to the throne in the 1st book and now the official leader of Kazure, and his boyfriend Hunter, which is not a type of relationship a lot of people agree with. There's a lot of issues surrounding Kazure's relationship with other lands. There's a war that's going on, but there are also issues between the governing lords within this country. So the plot is interesting, there's a lot of action. I liked that Kaori kept growing as a person and as a leader, and he's a really compelling character. And yeah, it's a great series. If you like fantasy and gay romance, this is a nice blend and you should definitely try it. The next one I read is Rule Breaker by Lily Morton. This is supposed to be a gay romantic comedy. And the reason I picked this up is because I was talking with some friends who didn't enjoy it and I just wanted to see for myself if I like it or not. Of course, if they're watching this video, they probably hate me now, but I'm sorry I liked it. I don't understand why you didn't like it, but I found it super funny. I I started by reading the sample, as you do, and by the end of it I was so hooked, I bought it. So then I read it in a day. It was funny, I found the characters really interesting and their banter was very cool. At the start of each chapter there was an email from one of them to the other, or that changed. It was like a series of replies, and the emails themselves were super funny. The characters were funny in their interactions and in the way they worded things. That said, it's a high angst story, which is weird for a romantic comedy, but I think I enjoyed it because of that. And yeah, I loved it. The next one was Treading Water by Kate Pavele. I've read some of her books before and loved them. So this is the first book in the Swim, Bike, Run trilogy. Kate had it as part of the Valentine's giveaway that I was part of as well with Be My Anti-Valentine, and I picked this up and read it. So I got it for free because I subscribed to Kate's newsletter, which I wanted to be part of anyway. And let's just say I already bought book 2, so clearly I enjoyed it. I enjoy Kate's style and the stories she tells, and this was more interesting to me because one of the characters is a Native American and he has a really heartbreaking backstory, and yet this is a story about surpassing all the hardship life throws at you and finding your happiness, which I think is a great message to have in a book. Next on my list is Healing Ellen by Aimé Brisset. It's the third book in her BDSM series, The Dungeon, and I bought this myself. I buy all of Aimé's books because I love her style, and yes, I sometimes get access to arcs way before everyone else, but then I also buy the books all the time. You'll notice that most of these books, except for review copies, are books I purchased myself, and I try to do that. The only exception so far is Eater of Dreams, which was a review copy. Next, 2 books I will mention together because they are part of the same series. They're Dragon's Thief and Dragon's Curse by Lily Zander, books 1 and 2 of the Blood Prophecy series. This is a reverse harem series, and I wanted to read one just to see what the fuss was all about. I enjoy reverse harem in anime, but it's really tame. Has nothing to do with reverse harem romances, I discovered, which can be really raunchy. This was an enjoyable read, but not the best read ever. I mean, it's told in short installments, and I totally get the setting. This girl is the fated mate of all the dragon princes, which I think are 5. While I enjoyed the story, I enjoyed her backstory and how the character was created, how strong she was, the tough decisions she had to make, I am not a fan of insta-love and insta-relationships. And I do understand the bond that you form with someone out of the blue and in an unexplainable way and extreme heat, but then I don't know. I mean, I do get it, it works in this story. I'm not saying it's not working. There are dragons, there's a curse, this is a fated thing. I'm just not the biggest fan of this kind of story where there's insta-love involved. So, moving on. I read Dominos by J.P. Kenwood. This was a very interesting read to me. Dominos is an erotic gay romance that's also a historical story. It's set in Rome during the reign of Trajan. In case you didn't know, and there are a lot of jokes made about it, the fathers of the Romanian people are Trajan and Decebal. Decebal was the Romanian king that Trajan defeated in a couple of wars that were brutal. In Dominos, we have this super powerful Roman citizen who's the right hand of Emperor Trajan, and he's a recently bought slave who's Dacian, and more so a Dacian prince. I found the story very interesting. I found that it showcases Roman culture in a very correct way. It's not embellished. Of course, it's romanticized. This is still fiction. It's not a history book, but it stays really close to Roman traditions and culture and history and beliefs, which I found really refreshing. Of course, if you do not like a lot of sex in your books, maybe don't choose this one because it's higher on eroticism. Next and final book. Oh, we're at the last one. I did good. The final one is Blood Oath by Ray Wagner and Kelly St. Clair. This is a dark fantasy, and it is dark. The main character is captured by a dragon called Lord Eric, who is bound to the king of the land. She's thrown in a cell in a dungeon where she's repeatedly tortured and beaten. Her life is absolutely awful, and the love interest is Lord Eric the Dragon. I like dark stories. I do like them a lot, but I'm not the biggest fan of a lot of physical abuse for no reason whatsoever. Okay, she was part of this rebel organization that wanted to overthrow the king, but she wasn't really high up in the ranks. She didn't know much, and she wasn't the only one they had access to. There's a lot of deceit going on. There's a lot of horrible things that Lord Eric does, and this is justified by the fact that he was bound to the king through a sort of a promise he'd made, and whatever. The way it worked is that whatever the king asked, he had to do, with very few exceptions that I will not mention because they're kind of plot twists. So I enjoyed it for the most part, but it wasn't the best read of the century. It was good, but I didn't see it as being the greatest in dark fantasy. There are chapters in Red Rising about Darrow being tortured in very brutal ways, but they are more described through his experience, what he's thinking about, his fear, things that grip and, twist your heart and make you feel for the character. That's how it is in the background. This wasn't as nicely done. It was just brutal and sometimes for no reason whatsoever. But beyond that, the world building, the characters, the magic system, the beings that exist in this world, those are all interesting, don't get me wrong. That's the 11 books I read this month. I hope you've enjoyed this. Let me know what interesting things you've read in February, and I'd gladly dive into that. I know I said I wanted to read more non-fiction and try one non-fiction book a month. I did start one in February, but I didn't finish it, so there will probably be 2 of those in March. So yeah, this is it from me. Thank you so much for watching. Do like and share the video and comment and subscribe if you found this useful or entertaining, and I will see you all on Sunday with my writing vlog, which I'm a bit worried about, but we will talk about that. Don't forget tonight's live stream on Sarah's channel, and tomorrow my author chat, and this Sunday I will be on a podcast with my friend Nikki J. Marcus, who's here on Facebook as well. We're going to talk about author stuff and answer reader questions, and I think it will be absolutely fantastic, so you can get a lot of me this weekend. If you need more, links to my social media are always in the description down below. Thank you again for watching, and I will see you all soon. Bye!